Oh, y'all. Hello, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to a double review discussion, talk about just kind of getting all nitty gritty whatever with two fairly similar looking palettes. Now, apparently in the beauty community, in the beauty market, we are wanting pink. We are wanting soft. We are wanting millennial pink. We are wanting a rosy Valentine's Day look color story. Or at least we do for Valentine's Day. God only knows what it's gonna be after that. But for now, we're living in the pink moment. And as such, two palettes were released from two brands that I'm fairly familiar with. The Melt Cosmetics Millennial Pinks with an X, and the Natasha Denona Love Palette. Now this also was released with a face palette. Y'all know your girl got it, your girl love it. And you may or may have not seen, I'm not sure if it's up yet, if it is or if it's not. Spoiler alert, I anti-hauled both of these. And then as you're going around and you see Lacey and you see Karen Harris and all these people that I follow getting these palettes and reviewing them, and I'm like, you know, I had a little extra in the slush whateverness of this month, and I was like, you know, get them. Get a review out of it. I waited until they were at Sephora, so if they did not work, then I would be returning them. But I did cave and submitted. I don't know if it's just the fact that y'all know I have a thing for the pinky eyeshadow, so I don't know if it was just the rosy story colors. I'm not entirely sure what it was that made me go on in. Now, I am holding strong against that Viseart pasty pinky whatever palette. That I'm holding strong. But we got two palettes here in a very, I would say, similar color story. I am wearing a mixture of both on my peepers today. So we have Natasha Denona, Miss Pricey. I mean, not that this one's any less pricey. Both of these run expensive on that eyeshadow front. But you got the Natasha Denona Love Palette looking like this. It is the same size, just a moment. It is the same size as the Sunrise palette right here, which I did do a review, and I like the formula. I like the fact that she was starting to make palettes at a lower price point. And so I was very happy to see her expand on that whateverness, especially when we're favoring it in the rosy, purpley whateverness going on here. The matte to shimmer ratio, you know, it could be a little bit more matte heavy. You do have this, you know how I feel about that like light setting shade situation going on. But overall, it was a color story that I was like, I can get behind this. I think it's pretty. I mean, obviously that's how we made it here. And then the Melt Cosmetics one right here, which is a bit softer. This palette doesn't have nearly as much variation of gradation. It just kind of goes like pink, a little bit reddy, stark, and then black and gray. Once again, matte to shimmer ratio. You know what, I understand. I go in on this knowing. I want no one down in the comments being like, well, you knew what you were getting into. Yes, I did. I take full responsibility for that. But I thought this one was kind of like a little bit of a disconnect because like I said, you got the little rosy tones and then it's like black, you know, you're just like, okay, all right. And then that like real stark silver, I was like, okay, but I was intrigued. I was curious. Melt Cosmetics has kind of become the new Kat Von D for me, where they come out with a palette and I'm like, I kind of want to get that. This one here is going to run you $58. I am not sure if these are limited edition or not. I will leave that information down below. And this bad boy right here is going to run you $65. So we are harboring on that higher excuse me, burp squad, on that much higher price point, verging into like luxury, which is something I do not like to take lightly because I understand not everyone has the same budget. When you got ColourPop out here busting it like nobody's business for $12, you're looking at this at $65 and being like, Are you made with like pressed mermaid skin? But we are just gonna start off with swatching these things. Then we're gonna kind of do like a compare, you know, if you have one, do you need the other? Do you even need these? If you got like Jeffree Star Blood Sugar, Venus XL, Lime Crime Venus XL, or even something like the ColourPop Ooh La La palette. You know, are these really that revolutionary, even though pinks are having a comeback and people are like, holy crap, pink's coming a thing? But, you know, it may seem like an insurgence when, you know, it may not be as unique as we might be led to think in the moment. So let's start off with a Natasha Denona going on here. I'm just gonna go, we'll just go like this time around. Whoop, 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 a little, shake it up a little bit. So we have got Soul right here. I will say the mattes feel nice and buttery. Y'all know I have a little bit of, I've tried her other formulas as well. Not been the biggest fan. That is Heart, and then this one here is First, which is that kind of peachy pinky satin shade. But I will say these are really nice and smooth. This is like a matte formula that if this had been the matte formula in the Safari palette, not the Safari palette, the Tropic palette, I wouldn't have kept it because the shimmers were trash. But I would have felt a little bit better if the mattes had been a better, smoother, more pigmented, consistent formula. Next up is Passion right here, which is definitely one of these superior shimmers, I do say. I find that some of Natasha's shimmers, they tend to swatch really nice, like that one right there. But then when you try to like get them on a brush, they're a little bit more glittery, a little bit more faint, you know, not as much actual shimmer pigment. That was Giving, and this is Lifetime, which, you know, I mean, let me show you right here, you know. They're looking pretty in the swatch, you know, especially those two at the bottom there. But I feel like unless you're going on like a super tacky base or, you know, like a white base, something that's really stark, something that these are going to really be able to stick to, they're going to be kind of just a little bit fainter than, you know, something that's just like, which y'all know is usually how I prefer my shimmers. Then we've got Intense, which is a beautiful like blush. I do think that is a gorgeous color. Pure Love, which is, you know, the shimmers are just like I said, they're more of that like glossy texture and finish. And that one there was Heartbeat. So I'm always so bad at this, and can't tell you how many people have been like, well, your swatches suck. Because you can see kind of how that was, oh no, that was a matte. I was going to be like, that's a shimmer and it has no shimmer in it. Duh. But, you know, these, you know, they're like, it's not so much that they're hard pressed as it is that the pigment, maybe I don't know the right kind of brush for it. I know a lot of people have like, use a silicone whatever, or use a sponge tip whatever. I have not tried that yet. Next up is Valentine, which is another very beautiful pink going on here. Then we have Commitment, which is so smooth. It feels so good. Then Transparent, which kind of as the name suggests is a little transparent. Still got room all up in here. We got this one here, that one there, and we'll do this one right there. I apologize for my swatches being lame. Y'all are just gonna have to deal. I am not a famous YouTuber. Then last but not least, we have Dream, which is a beautiful, it's like, I'll have to swatch it for you. Then we got Blind, which is another beautiful, and then Trust, which is, I mean, I would keep this palette just for that shade alone. It is absolutely stunning. Got that one right there. Let's got this one here, which is like kind of a, it's like silver, but then when you do, it's got kind of like a little bit of like almost a purpley undertone. And then this one right here. Oh, it's so beautiful. So here's the shade range going on here, you know, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit up here and over there. I will say right off the bat, I do absolutely love these mattes. I think they're absolutely stunning. stunning. If Natasha could take this matte formula and just like transcend it throughout all her other palettes, I'd be okay with that. Then on to the Millennial Pinks, which is a lot less shadow to swatch, but still in kind of that same price point. So take that into consideration, though the eyeshadow pans are a lot bigger. So we're gonna start off with a Rose Brunch going on here. You know, typically I do love Melt's shimmer formula. I think they have a very unique one. This one, I mean, it looks, not nicey nice with the her, but you're like, okay, all right, I guess it's there. Then pink leather going on here. Melt Cosmetics shadows are very powdery. I'm just gonna say that right up the whatever. We have Flamingo Dream right here, which feels like not so nice. And then Mixed Emotions, which I feel is an excellent name for this because I have very mixed emotions about it. Here we have that there, going on there, and then I'm pressing real hard on that there, people, and it's just kind of like, And for a brand that usually formulates shimmers that are a little bit more ka-cha, cha-cha-cha, you're just kind of like, really? That's what you have to give? I mean, I expect effervescent fairy farts from Too Faced, but I do not expect effervescent fairy farts from Melt Cosmetics. Then Modern Love, which is another really pretty shade here. Ruby Spar, which is like, you know, I feel like when it comes to shimmers, it's like when you've got a good thing going, don't try to F it up, don't change it, don't try to be like, well, we're trying to make a hybrid, half gel, half powder, half shimmer, half glittery top. No. Just give me a shimmer, please and thank you. And then Pink Noise, which is probably one of the most redeeming shimmers, potentially because it's the simplest. But here we have going on here, here, and here. I mean, like, that's pretty. That's like Kat Von D Metal Crush eyeshadow and Thunderstruck type situation going on. But it is still, you know, kind of a little bit on that faint level, you know, a little bit more soft, a little bit more subtle, which I understand not everyone's looking for like a full disco ball on their eyelid, but when you're doing a brand that's typically known for being a bit more oomph, subtle, doesn't really cut it sometimes. Then Moon Glow, which these shimmers, they're so like, if you look, you can't, maybe, if you look in the pan, you see they look kind of like almost a little bit flaky, and then you press on in them and they just kind of, I mean, look, I mean, you can't, you're like, wow, that's great. But you know, when considering how hard you're pressing in and what you're getting, I mean, can you not? Like, that was picking up and pressing down hard with a finger, which is how they say is a superior way to apply the shimmy shimmy right up there. So imagine trying to pick up that bad boy with a brush, and what you're gonna get? You're gonna get a little of silvery white glitter, which I can get for a much lower price point. Thank you very much. And then we've got GF going on here. Nice and heckin' pigmented, and then Euphoria, which does not feel like the typical Melt Cosmetics black formula that I have experienced in the past. Here we have it there, you know, swatches out fairly nicely, and then we'll just do this one right up there. So here we have the swatches here. A lot less, I would say, definition than the Natasha Denona one. I understand there are less shadows, but at the same time, Melt Cosmetics has knocked it out of the park in the color theory department before, so what gives? Okay, with swatches aside, let's sort of discuss the nitty-gritty. You know, I mean, swatches do not tell all. Swatches can be very deceptive, as I have come to learn. I mean, we've got the straight up of, did you need another pink palettes? Right? No. No, I got the ColourPop, I got the Jeffree Star, I got the whatever. And in all honesty, if you have those, you probably don't need these. Now, that being said, I know a lot of people, a lot of y'all have expressed the desire to not support Mr. Star, and I understand and appreciate and respect all y'all's different ethics and whatevers. And so I'm thinking this would actually be sort of a nice, if you're wanting to take the blood sugar theme, kind of like that whole reddy, purpley, whateverness, but you're wanting it to be a bit more sophisticated, a little less edgy, a little less in your face, while still also being kind of colorful and out there. I think this would be absolutely fantastic. I love the matte formula. I love this shade right here. This shade is beautiful. There's all the mattes, even the stupid little setting shade, I love. If she were to come out with an all matte palette in this size, this formula, I'd be all over that. The shimmers are a little bit like this one and this one. They're just kind of like, you know, when it's kind of like that more thinner, not Vaseline. It's kind of that like veil of shimmer rather than it being you're getting exactly what you got in the pan on your eyes. Because I use this Giving shade right there, and it took a fair amount of building up for it to look like that on my lids. And I feel like when you're paying $65, when you're paying $12, when you're paying any kind of money, you at least deserve a shimmer that's easy to work with. We all know shimmers are easy to formulate. I mean, come on, people, it ain't that difficult. Passion is really nice. I do like Pure Love. Blind is nice. Transparent. Commitment is a little weird, I guess. These two, they're like shimmer, satin, matte hybrid situations. So I'm not kind of sure what to think about those. I really like this one, and this one is good for smoking out that whatever and deepening it up. But if they had just made them like true mattes, I feel like that would have been a little bit of a better choice, because it would have added a bit more depth and dimension to the, like I say, the backbone of a palette, in my opinion, allegedly, is built on its matte. So when you have a palette that's not got as many mattes, I'm sometimes a little side-eyeing. But if this is something that you have been looking for, if you don't want to support Jeffree, but you still want a higher end, you know, pinky, rosy, pepperly type palette with like a little bit of neutrality going on, I think this one is really nice. Now, with that being said, I think if you're just wanting pink or whatever, you could get away with the ColourPop Ooh La La. You could get the Ooh La La, the one of the purple ones, and the Strawberry Shake one if that one's still available. And you could probably come up with the color story of this palette for about half the price. So I don't like coming on here and being like, oh yes, this $65 palette is the best thing that you'll ever have in your life, when you can feasibly come up with when you can come up with a less expensive alternative. So while the quality is really nice, and I'm very happy about that, it does seem consistent in comparison to this one. So if she keeps taking this formula moving forward, that makes me very happy. You know, so all in all, I am not upset with this purchase at all. I do believe that I'm going to be reaching for this palette a lot for these mattes, because they are a pleasure to work with. They blended out really beautifully on the eyes. This color was I'm a hit pan on that shade, if nothing else. That Trust shade is just sublime, and it is a beautiful formula for such a dark matte. So if you've had your eye on this, it's not something that I'm going to be like, no, don't go out and buy. I think if you enjoyed this one, if you're looking to do whateverness, you know, you don't want to support Huda, you don't want to support Jeffree, we got the Natasha Denona for you to fill in that caveat of a higher price point. Then let's talk the millennial pinks. You know, I like the packaging. I mean, obviously we live for an occasional pink aesthetic. It's got this matte and then the raised studded packaging, you know, and even if the color story had less gradation, I've been kind of, you know, with me and my style, I flip-flop and whatever. We're going a little bit more kawaii, a little bit more sweet today. And I've been wanting to experiment with kind of more simpler looks where you just take one shade and sweep it all over whatever, and then you shimmy all up in the thing. And so I thought this would be a really good palette for that. You know, you could just go all up in here, pop that one on top of it, that one on top of it, you know, even get a little funky inner corner highlight here. You know, I was vibing. I saw some opportunities. I was thinking, you know, you could even get a little vampy, a little bit sultry with these darker shades, you know. So on initial, I was like, and then kind of, I don't know if I convinced myself. For whatever reason, I was feeling that I could actually do something with this. And then that's kind of when the other foot dropped. These shimmers. Y'all, I have been through the Melt Gemini. I've been through the 27. I've been through the Smoke Sessions. I've been through the Muerte and Vita. I've been through the Radio. I have been through a plethora of Melt Cosmetics shimmer shades. And y'all, this ain't it. I mean, that silver shade, this Moon Glow, which should more be entitled Moon Fart shade, because it's just this little, I mean, you look at it, you're like, oh wow, that's gonna be good. We gonna cut our crease with that shiz. And then you're there and you're like, all right, I'm getting a little whatever, and it's just like, you know. And I understand maybe if you're doing your makeup and you want just like a faint little ethereal dusty across your lid so you can look like a, I don't know, an effervescent fairy, then sure. But when you got it in the pan and it's looking like a bright old metallic, a little misleading. And then the same goes with the Mixed Emotions and with the Rose Brunch and with the Rubies. It's just kind of like lackluster, especially in comparison to what they've released before. I mean, y'all know my biggest pet peeve, well, not my, thinking to just break this thing. One of my biggest pet peeves is when you have big brands or even small brands, when you have brands that create good shadows, they've got the money, they've got the whatever, and yet for some reason they are unable to continue that formula throughout their palettes. It's like, okay, you take the process that you use to make Gemini, right? Which everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of us love. Take the ingredients, you know, give or take whatever you need to do the color, you know, the pressing format, the lab, and just translate it to this. Is that really so complicated? Is that really so much to ask? I don't think so. And this is one I would say pass on. This is not the Melt Cosmetics, you know, color story aside, all whatever. This is not the Melt Cosmetics formula that I am used to. This palette schwitzes like crazy. Like, I don't understand what happened with this formula. I mean, the mattes were okay. You know, if you take the mattes, you're just like, all right, they're really powdery, they're whatever, they're a little bit dusty. These ones aren't the happiest, the most receptive to blending, you know, but these three, they're okay. But then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shimmers that are just kind of there. They showed up to the party and they were ready to go, but they were not ready to party. It was all a big giant. This was honestly, I expected to be a little bit more about the Natasha Denona than I was about this one. And it's just, it makes me sad, because if those shimmers had been ka-cha-cha-cha-cha and less of a faint, glittery, kind of glossy, but not really high impact shimmers, we may be singing a different story right now, but we're not. And I would not recommend y'all picking this up, not for $58. $58. Like, if this had been a ColourPop palette, I've been like, okay, whatever, I spent $9 on it. But when you got a color palette that was $9 that's better than this, it's like, what you doing wrong? What you do? Why you do this? Why you like this? So Natasha Denona one, yee! Melt Cosmetics, Alright, all y'all, I hope you enjoyed that cross-section review. I was honestly really surprised. When I got those and went into like trying them out and everything, I was like, whoa, I had the exact like opposite Well, I'm not sure if I was like expecting to not like the Natasha Denona, but I've had success with melt so many times that you're just kind of used to it, and you're like, we're kind of having a Katma Von D moment where I'm like, what happened? What's happening? What? Don't stop. They better not be effing themselves up with whatever it is they're trying to do here. So obviously, I would love to hear y'all's opinions about these down below. You have them, you love them, you agree with me? What's your experience? Everything is different. I could have someone down in the comments being like, the Melt Cosmetics Millennial Pinks palette is the best palette that ever existed. You are crazy, which I respect and understand because we all have different whatevers. But let me know what you think down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!